Doesn't it seem like planes are crashing a whole lot more now that the media is in our pockets? I thought this would be an interesting topic to talk about because of this TikTok right here. It was this TikTok right here that taught me about the Washington, D.C. crash that happened over the Potomac River where a Black Hawk and a CRJ 700 collided. This unfortunately led to 67 deaths, 3 of them being the Black Hawk and 64 of them being the passenger bombardier CRJ 700. After I watched that TikTok, it seemed that I've gotten 3 more, one
A plane
after the
tonight
other.
at
And this made me think, how much does this actually happen? Well, to start, we need to go back to when the airplane was first created, back in 1903, by these 2 men named Orville and Wilbur Wright. These men had a dream to fly, and fly they did. Because this here is the first plane they ever created. The first plane to ever take flight. At the start of World War II, aviation really took off, but it also made people terrified of planes, for obvious reasons. But it also proved that planes can become a viable source of transportation just like trains. In 1955, a record was broken where more people flew in a plane than they did riding in a train. In this video from the British past, it is indeed.
Over now to the new London airport, one of the busiest crossroads of the air in the world. Below us, the lofty control tower commands attention, rising from the heart of the imposing new terminal buildings.
Though since World War II, the casualties didn't stop. At the low point of 1955, at the peak of its flying career, the casualties were actually low compared to the previous years, around 180 deaths. Though in 1972, the casualties had hit a high of 3,355 deaths, a total of 1,923 more than 1955. The fear of flying was at an all-time high because of hijackings and poorly built planes. A known plane crash in 1972 was carrying a baseball legend, Roberto Clemente. This was due because of an engine failure from a lack of maintenance. But let's dig deeper and see what's causing all these crashes. From Jay Shively, an employee at NASA, he quotes, pilot error accounted for 76% of all plane crashes. And according to the FAA, or the Federal Aviation Administration, quote, pilot error is said to be an action or decision made by the pilot which was the cause or contributing factor that led to the accident. Now, it seems odd that 76% of all crashes come from the pilot when it seems like they have to go through extensive training just to fly commercial planes with civilians. Though, according to the ATP flight school, quote, to become a pilot, you only need 2 years, dedicated years, and a total of 1,500 flight hours to get your commercial license. But it isn't that much, because to become a master at something, you need 10,000 hours, and 1,500 hours is only 15% of being a master. So it makes sense that people would be afraid of their pilots flying their plane. So Jay brings up a possible solution: AI, or artificial intelligence. This humanoid robot, or this guy. He brought up a case where the crew was distracted by a burnout landing gear indicator. And because of this, they didn't realize that their autopilot had been shut off. And while they were messing with the indicator, no one was really flying the plane. And when the autopilot was off, they must have bumped something, and their craft nosedived. It started going straight down, and unfortunately, it crashed into the Florida Everglades, and there were no survivors. And because of this, Jay brings up that if there was a computer, this would have never happened, because it would have made sure the autopilot stayed on. But Jay contradicts himself that AI and computers will never be in control, because you need pilots in the cockpit just like you need a driver in the seat of a Tesla. He brings up the Hudson River crash, where soon after takeoff, a flock of geese flew into the jet engine of the aircraft, causing it to explode, essentially. And not being at a high enough altitude over the city from where he took off, he could not turn around and land safely, because he would eventually crash into the buildings. So in quick thinking, he looked around his surroundings and saw the Hudson River. And well, that was his decision, was to land it in the river. And doing so, he skillfully did so. So much, in fact, not a single person passed away. And to finish Jay's argument, he finished it saying that we need an equal amount of smart computers as we do skilled pilots. With mechanical failure being a minor cause, it still accounts for 16% of all aviation crashes, and that 16% is easily avoidable. According to Lowry and Scott, from an in-depth look at high-profile accidents that shaped aviation rules and procedures, they talk about a Cessna 310 that had developed oil leaks, causing a low-pressure indicator to go off. And when the mechanic went to take a look and diagnose the problem, they found the same vacuum pump had failed for the 7th time. 7 times! And rather than troubleshoot these persistent problems, the service manager instructed the mechanic to simply cap off the pump. That's basically like you waking up every morning, getting in your car, seeing the check engine light, and turning up the music because you don't want to spend the money to fix it. The engine also had work done to it, and when they were investigating the crash, the plane, they found that there were nuts finger tight when they were supposed to be torqued down. People who don't like flying can say that 2025 is headed to have over 600 plus fatalities as it's going since recent times, but that is just a speculation. It could happen or it could not. And airlines say they have become much safer, and according to statistics, they aren't wrong. They are much safer than what they used to be, especially since 1972. All in all, it's tough to sway someone's opinion. If they want to fly or not, it's up to them. Yeah. Will you be flying or finding another form of transportation? Me personally, I will still fly.